And off we go. Okay, so we're recording again. So Damien, we'll try again here. So this is the dashboard for a paid site, and so we've got some stuff on the left-hand side here, which is trend analysis tools, and I'll come on to that later on. But I'm just going to start with the core stuff, and start by adding a new project into our dashboard. So I'm going to head in and add Cisco.
Cisco.com.
Cisco.com, and we're going to do it for the UK market.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm going to pull in the first 20 pages. That's actually just pulling it in from SEMrush. It could have been from any API, but SEMrush tends to bring in 20 of your best pages. So normally I wouldn't bring in those pages automatically, but for the speed of the setup, it makes life a lot easier. And what it's doing now is it's taking those pages and it's crawling that content and breaking it down to constituent entities and topics. So the whole point of Inlinks is that we're not looking at the system from a keyword point of view. We're looking at it from an entity and topics point of view. So our natural language processing algorithm is designed to be much more aggressive than Google's, and so it's going to pick out more entities and concepts than Google's public one does. That will mean that it brings out potentially some false positives because it's designed to be that aggressive, but our whole point here is to then curate that and make sure that we can explicitly tell Google in the schema what each page is about, and also use that to build the internal links. So it's found 437 different entities and topics within those 20 pages. We've got another 8 million to go, but let's just keep the demo at something reasonable right now. And now it's trying to work out schema and markups. So it's made a couple of made some assumptions. They're not all good. So this one's automatically tried to link the Catalyst 2900 with Grand Theft Auto.
I mean, it's a great switch.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you're going to get more customers that way. They just won't buy anything, but, you know, or more visitors, but they won't buy anything. So you can change those things around. And the most important part of the setup is trying to associate the pages with the right topics so that you can communicate that properly through to Google. So you can either do that here by saying this page is definitely about VoIP routers or access control or whatever it may be about, or you can go and switch it around and have a look at the knowledge graph that we've created and work from that point of view. So this is quite a good way to do this. So here on the left hand side are all the different topics that we've understood within your system and how many times we've seen it, and then that allows you to associate that content with individual pages. So the Cisco systems page, we've seen it. We've seen you talk about Cisco systems 9 times out of those 22 pages, 20 pages. You can click on the topic details, and that'll pull in the Wikipedia reference to Cisco, because we've mentioned Cisco more than one time, and things like you can get confused as a human as to what the NLP is doing. So if you had engine written on the left hand side here, it may well be that you're thinking about search engine, and the NLP program has related it to a motor car, which is, so sometimes it's worth just clicking on the topic details here.
Yes.
And then pulling that in, that'll pull in the Wikipedia data. Usually quicker if I wasn't recording to the cloud at the same time, and also related topics and things, so you can get a pretty good idea of what's occurring. So now we want to associate this page, and just click on associate, and then we'll associate that with the UK page for UK homepage for Cisco. Okay, so now we've connected the idea up. We can now start to reduce the cannibalization that might appear because you've talked about Cisco in other places. We can now potentially start creating links of the other mentions of Cisco, so it links to the page that you want as the landing page.
Okay.
So let me show you how that's working. I'm just going to silence my okay, so hopefully that's off. So so now on the pages, you'll see that we're starting to create links. So this has been going on in the background while I've been talking. So out of our 47 topics, now that we've made some associations, it's started to generate internal links, and it's also started to create markups for the pages that we've put topics on for. So for example, this page here we've associated with the concept of access control, and we can see the schema that we are trying to generate. So it's about schema, so it's saying, right, okay, this is about a thing, access control, and so that Google can't get it wrong, it links through to the Wikipedia page for access control. So we're using Wikipedia as our main database for explaining to Google what it is that this content is about. So we've seen what it's about, and also we've got some mentions in here as well, because we're also talking about Adobe in here, and we're also talking about system maintenance and things in here as well. We've also created links in and out of the page. So let's go to a page where we've got both internal links and outbound links. So here we've got, well, 6 links into this page coming in. And again, we can click down here and have a look at them. And we can see the anchor text that we've put on the page, the source page that they're coming from. So we're not generating just a whole load of different links with exactly the same anchor text. These are all trying to come into the concept of business and cloud computing. And these are the kind of words that we found in the sentences and where we're highlighting them, because that's where we think that's most appropriate for the user. Not always, and we can edit these as well. So we can edit the links and things if we want to change that, and you can change the anchor text and modify it. And even if you want, you can remove the link section altogether from
just tell me real quick. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure.
On this page, now that you've got those internal links being created, what then happens with them? How do I get some value or benefit from that?
Okay, so so this is the whole integration relies on this text, this bit of JavaScript code being on the footer of the web pages. So so it's inactive at the moment because obviously you haven't put the code onto Cisco, so hence just a demo. But as soon as that's there, then all of this stuff becomes live instantly. So it's being added in real time. So here's the links going in and optimized in real time. The schema is being added in real time. You can then edit it from this console, and you don't have to go back to the web development team every time you want to change internal links, or every time you want to change the schema around. It can all be done from within here.
Oh wow! Okay.
So so if you want to, sorry,
such a time saver.
Oh, that's the plan. Yeah, it's supposed to be a plan. The plan, and also it's supposed to be proactive as well. So you know, when this is not a reporting system, this is a doing system, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you can always check all of your links here, and if you're got a political problems with having the code on the site, on the links on the site, without somebody vetting it or checking it, you can toggle this on and off for all the links, and then you can do this, and then you can modify the links here, and then the same for the schema. All the schema can start appearing here, and again you can toggle that on and off if you've got to go through some politics first. You can also add topics and modify things here, so you can either delete sections that you don't think are appropriate, or start adding new ones in
on a page by page basis.
You can do that on a page by page basis, yeah, because the whole point for this, we don't have any schema that's related to, you know, a LinkedIn profile or whatever. This is trying to get the content on the page explicitly explained, so that a machine learning algorithm can get the priority and say, okay, there's all these things on here. This page is about the training, and it just mentions information technology and application software, but that's the priority.
And so technically, when the script is installed to the page, when does it execute and apply those links?
So that will execute on page load. So it needs to be rendered, but Google is having no problem dealing with the rendered code now, so that it's rendering the DOM. So it will not appear in view source. You will have to see it in the inspect tool within Chrome or whatever.
With you.
Okay, so so that's the first main part of it. It's trying to optimize the internal link structures, and it's trying to give you automated schema. I didn't mention it, but it'll also spot FAQ pages if you've got more than one question on a page in H tags. Then we're followed by paragraphs of text. Then we'll create FAQ schema for it as well.
Okay.
But that's just done on the fly because it was easy to build in. To be honest,
yeah.
The next thing that we can start doing is optimizing, analyzing, and optimizing the content that you've got. So let's say that we're trying to optimize this this page for, you're already ranking for Cisco Umbrella. Let's say that you want to actually rank this for something more generic like cloud computing. Then we can change that and say, right, okay, let's see how this should be doing for cloud computing. Apologies. So this does exactly the same thing, but on a different set of data. So what this is doing now is it's pulling in Google's API for the phrase cloud computing in the UK market, and that's why we set up the market for the whole project in the first place. So it's pulling in the words searching for cloud computing on Google's API, taking the top 10 URLs from that, crawling that content, analyzing that content, and breaking that content down into constituent entities and topics, and then it's going to compare that against your content to see where you're missing ideas or where you've over mentioned ideas. So when it comes to cloud computing, admittedly you were trying to get there for Cisco Umbrella, so it's a little under par but not disastrous. This isn't a percentage. I don't know why we put it as a percentage. It's a score. And it's a score out of 100. And so we've kind of looked at the number of topics that we found. You've got around about 142, and we can start seeing on all of these things where you've mentioned them and where you're missing things. So you have talked about cloud computing, nice green line there, and you've talked about it about the same number of times as average. So you've got it 22 times, and on average it's in there 20 times, and at the lower end is 6 and the upper end is 60. When it gets to the concept of computing though, you haven't used this concept. Now, before we dive in and say, my God, we've got to start talking about computing over the ages in this content, we should probably have a quick look here and bring in again from Wikipedia what we're talking about when we talk about computing. We're talking about information technology. This possibly is something that we need to discuss in this. Here are some related questions. Here's some related topics. Perhaps it would be good for us to include something about information technology as opposed to the word computing in there.
What you just did there in a second takes usually about 10, 15 minutes to harvest of you sort of going out to look for these things.
Yeah, yes. And hopefully, I mean, yeah, if you get into this is just going to, I hope, advance productivity within SEO quite a lot. And because it's doing it from a topic-based point of view, then hopefully it's going to stand the test of time. But that's what they said about VHS. So right, okay. So so there's some things you've not mentioned here. You can use them. We also pick up if you have overused them. So you may have overused a topic, unlikely on your content, but if you'd used the idea of concept of cloud computing 60 times, we'd have put overused in here. And then occasionally we have things where we've detected words that you've said on the page, but we've not associated those words with the same concept of data that we're looking at here. So you might want to have a look at the wording. It's a more granular kind of thing, but you can have a look and see whether you are actually talking about data or whether you've just mentioned data as a sort of reference to some other kind of concept. But then also you can do some other things here to have a quick look. You can firstly, you can change the results. So we assumed that you wanted the ones that are already ranking, but that may not always be the case. You may want to be saying, all right, I'm competing against IBM, I'm competing against these very specific sites, and the BBC is not a competitor. So you can change those URLs and get your own cohort of sets. You can also from here see which one's ranked, and then also what kind of topics they were predominantly talking about as well. You can then break that down into sort of keywords, and then if you hadn't got any content at all, then you might want to start with this structure. You might want to start with talking about I suspect not Microsoft Azure, but anyway, business standards, etc., etc. And this gives you a suggested place to give to a content writer for them to go and create content. We're working on this, but we have better places to find questions. But if we had questions that you could answer there, we'd put them in there. And then we provide you with a sandbox. So this doesn't update in real time. But if you wanted to modify your content in a safe environment, then you can start modifying it in here and testing your words. So this is pulled in. Everything. So that's pretty good. If you just wanted to share this in a non-readable form, there's a link there which will take out all the editing and stuff like that and just show them one page that they can go and see, sort of like a Dropbox link, but you know, for us. But the other thing that happens here, which is a more fundamental way of growing, is that we also, now that we've defined a keyword for this, we've got this assign button over here. And this assign button is really useful because you can say, right, I know that we need to optimize this, and I'm going to give this to one of the content writing team. So you can press that button and you can either add your own writers, or you can put one. I'll just assign it to, I was trying to create one there, sorry. I'll just assign it to the test name that I've written there. Say next week, please return this next week and make this better. Okay, and then it then goes into a nice green little image there, which means that it's been assigned and that it's still within its deadline. That person can then see this as well and can comment on it and communicate with you. And when one of you's happy, you can mark it to completed, and it comes back an archive. If you go over the deadline, then it turns red.
So you can see where you're taking action, where action's been taken, and move on to the next thing.
Yes, you just have to remember that just because you've done that, you haven't put this new content necessarily onto the website yet. So because the editor will have done that in the sandbox area. Gotcha. So there's still an extra step on that. Okay, so that was the second major part. So the third major part. So the schema, internal links, and content optimization tool, which just leaves me to talk about the trend analysis tool, which is pretty cool, and in a logical sense would fit at the top of the workflow, but I've put it in the last bit because it just seems better when I do the demos. So the market trends tool is selecting things by category, and we're categorizing different topics and seeing how the interest is changing over time. So let's say that we're looking for what category would suit you guys? Software. So we're tracking at the moment 1,438 topics, and this is designed to start surfacing trends and ideas that people are interested in before you know that they're there. So within this environment, it would seem that there seems to be an increased interest in Python programming language, and we can drill down on that and have a look at what's happening day by day. And we can see actually the spike was quite sharp and narrow, which means it may well have been a news article that came out, and then there isn't actually much interest in programming language. What we want to see is something that goes up and then is sustained. So this link here will link to Google News, so you can see what the reason might be behind any spike. But we're seeing that around 1.6 million people are interested in programming language Python over a course of a month. It is growing over the week, but only because of this spike. It's stable over the month, and we can then see from here what we get a lot more questions about programming here. So if we wanted to talk about it, we can see a huge number of questions about that people might be asking about Python, and then we can also see related topics, and we can drill down on all these red and green arrows are showing whether they're gaining or losing traction, and then some related topics as well. So so what you can do from here is either track that on an ongoing basis and put it on your dashboard. So my dashboard has now got Python on the top of it, along with the things that I'm actually trying to track, like snow boots and stuff. And then also within here, all of those 1,438 topics are on this page, so you can go down and see those. And there's a search functionality as well.
Of this tracking, this sort of interest determined from?
So we're a little bit hazy on that little front. The official line is we're getting it from a combination of proprietary and public data, and not giving you too much information. But we are interested in any other partners to augment this. So if you
is this Google News scraping or
no? It's not not taking any data that we wouldn't be allowed to have. It's also not taking any it's not in any way personally identifiable.
There's
data.
no personally identifiable.
No, if you went back to the source of the information, we wouldn't be able to find out who was behind that anyway.
Okay.
I say that. I wonder if we can find IP addresses. I don't know. Anyway,
it's an interesting challenge in terms of being innovative and developing new products when you walk the line of PII and. Yeah,
no, we are safe on the PII. This is not hitting PII in any way. It is data that has no PII, because also this is not click data either. So this actually isn't tracking a user behavior, certainly not for search user behavior. It does look at logs and stuff, but not in a personally identifiable way. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to say is that closing the loop, let's say you wanted to write some content about Python, rather than then going back to the thing, you can just press this button here, and to finish my demo, this is now going to choose for the UK Kingdom. This is now going to go back and create a content brief for you, so you can then put it back into your system and start creating content.
Oh, brilliant. So the workflow has been, I've spotted the trend that's up and coming. I've then decided I'm going to produce some content, and then I get all the insights from those other parts of tool that you've shown.
Yep, and then you assign that content to somebody else to optimize, and then bring it back, and then finalize, make sure you've got your topic associations and things correct. Yeah.
All right.
Does it make sense?
It makes full sense, and I can see it's a tool set that can bring about definitely time, resource savings, and also cost savings in being able to communicate those things that you want to produce more effectively around an organization.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with the things. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Shall I stop the recording now then?
Shall we crack on to your interview?
Yes, I'll stop my recording and go on. So you're okay if I use that recording?
Edit it so it looks good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got to say nothing about the camera angle.
Nothing about the camera angle. Nothing about source data. All that sort of stuff.
Will do. Thanks a lot.